Hi there, Rebecca Mills here with Utah State University Extension to share some wellness wisdom to help you meet your health goals. Today's lesson has me reminiscing on my grade school days because we're going to talk about packing a lunch. Yeah, okay, adults can pack a lunch too, but for some reason my mind goes back to homemade cookies and ham and cheese sandwiches in my square metal strawberry shortcake lunchbox with matching thermos. Ah, those were the days. Let's bring packing a lunch up to current times, shall we? We're going to cover some useful tips on packaging and planning your lunch, including information about what kinds of healthy things to include, as well as the benefits of getting creative with the midday meal. I want you to think for a moment about the last time you carried your lunch in a brown paper bag. How did your sandwich fare by lunchtime? Maybe a little squished? And what about your drink? Yeah, the one that squished your sandwich. Let me guess, it started to sweat, and then the bag ripped, and not only did your sandwich get squished, but the bag broke, and you lost your cookies, and it was a sad, sad day. The very first thing I want to recommend with packing your lunch is if you're going to be serious about taking a lunch on a regular basis, invest in some good quality containers. Think about all the waste generated in our plastic baggy society. By switching over to durable containers, you'll cut down on a lot of that garbage. The environment will thank you. There are so many options now for great reusable containers. I did a simple Google search for the phrase reusable lunch containers, and there were over 995,000 hits. I bought some online recently that I'm excited to use because they have separate little compartments to put things. So much more fun than boring plastic baggies. As for a recommendation, there are so many different companies out there now, and I don't have enough experience with any of them to endorse or recommend one brand over another. There are sandwich boxes, salad containers that come with a separate little container for your dressing or toppings, square ones, round ones, any color you can imagine. There really are a lot of options. Have I said that before? One option I saw even had different sized compartments for the different food groups, so you can aim for proper portion sizes. Brilliant! I bet your kids would get into choosing their favorites. Another way to make lunch fun. When you're shopping around, either online or in the store, keep an eye out for certain things. You want your container to be reusable, so you want it to be dishwasher safe, microwave safe, and BPA free. Being freezer safe may or may not be a priority for you. One article I read suggested freezing soups ahead of time, then when you put them in your lunch, they don't slosh around. And plus, the frozen container would keep your other lunch items cold if you needed that. And the BPA-free designation will just give you the peace of mind that there aren't chemicals in the containers that are going to leach into your food and make you sick. So happy container hunting. Find something that works for you. Doesn't have to be super fancy or expensive. One article also suggested getting a set of utensils that is designated just for your lunch. That way you'll always know you have a fork and spoon handy when you need it. Thought that was a good tip too. Now let's talk about planning out exactly what you're going to put in those nifty reusable containers. Planning is a key to success when preparing your own lunch, rather than going out to eat or skipping the meal altogether. We'll talk about planning your shopping trip, planning your food preparation, and planning for food safety. First, planning your shopping trip. Sometimes I fall into the rut of just buying foods that I know my family will eat and not really making a menu plan. Menu planning is another lesson in and of itself, but in short, making a menu plan before you go shopping will save you money and time when preparing healthy meals for your family, and that includes lunches. One way it makes a difference is you can think ahead about what snacks you might want to include. Foods to bridge the gap between breakfast and lunch and to provide that afternoon pick-me-up between lunch and dinner. Another thing when you're shopping is you can plan to buy things in bulk, knowing that you're going to reportion the food in quick grab-and-go containers. You can also do this with your fruits and veggies. Fruits and veggies are really great for snacks, but sometimes I find myself passing them over for other prepackaged snack foods that aren't very good for me because I don't want to take the time to wash, peel, or cut them up. I do better with incorporating fruits and vegetables as snacks when I take the time, right after buying them, to do as much of that prep as possible, or at least enough to get me through a few days until I can take the time to do it again. As for food preparation and menu planning goes, think about incorporating planned over dinners. A planned over is basically making enough for dinner that you know you'll have leftovers that you can take with you the next day for lunch. Then, after dinner, you can just package those leftovers into individual portions, and all you have to do the next morning is pop them in your lunchbox. And this brings me to my final planning point, food safety. Anyone who has ever had food poisoning will attest to the fact that getting sick from food you've eaten is not a fun thing. Bacteria like Staphylococcus, Salmonella, and E. coli begin to grow rapidly in our food when our food reaches certain temperatures. This is referred to as the danger zone. Basically, between 40 degrees and 140 degrees. The United States Department of Agriculture, Food Safety and Inspection Service recommends that in order to avoid the danger zone, it's important to be able to keep hot foods hot and cold foods cold, and never leave food out of refrigeration for more than 2 hours. Food safety is another topic that deserves its own lesson, but when you're thinking about your lunches, consider your ability to keep hot things hot and cold things cold. Do you have access to a refrigerator? What types of things can you bring if you don't have a refrigerator? You might be able to get by with ice packs in your lunchbox or insulated containers. It's important to make sure you reheat foods to a safe temperature as well to properly take care of any bacteria. This is a great graphic of the danger zone, so you can be aware of just how hot things need to be to ensure safety. We've covered what you're going to put your food in, and now you're thinking about making a plan. Let's talk about what's in that food you're planning on putting in those containers. I would encourage you to be mindful of the food groups when you're planning your lunches. The Choose My Plate graphic is a representation of what we should be eating over the course of our day, but it's also a good reminder of what we can include in each and every meal. Combining different things like protein, complex carbohydrates, and healthy fats will help you stay full longer and are going to give you the energy you need to make it through the afternoon and avoid those afternoon slumps or sugar cravings. Some examples of foods that are going to energize your afternoon are berries, peppers, spinach, beans, nuts, and whole grains. Think of lunch as an opportunity to try something you've never tried before. Adding variety to the midday meal will make it more likely that you will want to eat it. Just like the squished peanut butter and jelly sandwich, if it doesn't look or taste appealing, you'll be less likely to want to bring your own lunch again. Brainstorm just a minute with me about some healthy lunch options. Say you're a soup and sandwich type. Consider broth-based soups to cut down on some calories from fat often found in creamy soups. If you're buying commercial soup products, beware of the sodium content as well. And while you're making a sandwich, go for the whole grain bread for that extra punch of goodness. Salads can be a good option depending on the toppings. We might think that going out to a restaurant and ordering a salad is the healthy choice, but be mindful of what's on top of that salad. Calories in cheese, dressing, dried fruit, nuts, or meat can add up fast. Eat all the greens you want, but be mindful of just how much of everything else you pile on top. If you're in a sandwich rut, you might consider a wrap as a good option to switch things up. There are a variety of different types of tortillas on the market now that can mix up the flavors for you. Or get creative with your breads. Think about the different specialty breads like sourdough, raisin, pita, baguette, croissant, and others. And sandwiches don't have to be meat, cheese, mustard, and mayo. Think about switching it up with hummus, tomatoes, and cheese, or cream cheese with apples and cucumbers on sourdough bread. You might be thinking, I don't have any of that kind of stuff in my fridge or pantry. Well, next time you go shopping, plan for it and branch out into new and exciting lunch flavors and combinations. The last thing I'd like to cover is the benefits of planning and preparing healthy lunches from home. And this goes for the adults as well as the kids in the family. The first is money savings. Say you bought all the supplies to make sandwiches for a week, and after you portioned it out, you calculated that making yourself a sandwich every day was going to cost you, say, $3 a day. Compare that to if you'd go out to eat, which can cost you anywhere from $5 to $10, maybe less, maybe more, depending on the choices you make. To do the math, eating on $3 a day for a year will cost you $780. And eating on $7 a day for a year of work days will cost you $1,820. That's over $1,000 in savings. Not to mention the savings of traveling and potential waste of food when you go out to eat, since portion sizes are so out of control in restaurants. I don't know about you, but I could find something much more satisfying to do with that $1,000 than paying for food that chances are isn't the best for me. To go along with that, if you're trying to maintain a healthy weight or lose weight, packing your own lunch will help you track your food and keep your portions in check. I like to call this waste management. For one, you can make a healthy choice when you're planning your grocery shopping, and second, you can control the portions that you consume. Just like the restaurant salad with too many toppings that we are tricked into thinking is healthy, when we are the ones preparing our meal, we can have a much better idea of what exactly is in there. And the last benefit I want to mention is time savings. This might sound a little counterintuitive because you will be investing time in planning, shopping, and preparing your foods. But think about not having to wait for someone else to prepare your food, like if you were going out to eat every day. This might just open up time in your lunch break to get some exercise or get something else done. Also, when you're packing multiple lunches at the same time, say like the night before, you'll only have to get everything out once, rather than pulling the same things out every day to try and get lunches together. This will be especially helpful for busy families that never seem to have enough time in the morning before work and school. To summarize our little lunch journey today, I encourage you to think about investing in containers not only for the sustainability factor of saving the landfills of plastic baggies, but also to avoid the squished sandwich ugly blah lunch blues. We also discussed how planning ahead is a key to being successful with this. From your shopping list to your food groups, a little time invested on the front end can save you time in the long run. And lastly, the benefits are clear. Making healthy choices at lunch can make a difference in your overall health, as well as in your wallet and on the clock. Thanks for joining me today as we learned ways to spruce up your lunch routine. With a little planning, you'll be well on your way to reaching your health goals. This is Rebecca Mills with Utah State University Extension, sharing a little wellness wisdom. Now go out and make it a healthy day.